So, let me start by saying that the ladies are not the only thing that fascinate me about Asia, although they do play a big part. I've always been interested in the culture, the religion, and different way of life in all of these Asian countries. It's completely different from the West, and it's even better than the way the West live. Now, onto the ladies. Yes, they are absolutely beautiful, but they are also loyal, hard-working, and treat their men with respect, well, for the most part. I found women back home and in neighbouring Western countries to be lacking the things that a Southeast Asian has. Many women in my country feel like they are equal to a man, so they behave like one. Now, not for 1 minute do I think women are less equal than men. A woman is quite capable of doing most of what a man can do. They are just as smart and talented as men, and in most cases, they are more so. A woman is equal to a man, just different. Hopefully you understand my point. Sometimes the feminine side of a woman is lost in the West. But hopefully you understand what I am trying to say. Anyway, I know that there are a lot of Asian women that can be found in the West, but those that have been there a long time, or born there, have took on the Western attitude. I wanted to meet a nice Asian lady, but I feel like I couldn't do that in the West, so I went on dating sites and apps. There are so many beautiful Asians on these apps. It's a goldmine. This was the first time I used a dating app. It has never been my thing, but I was running out of options on how to meet a nice Asian lady. I did not plan on travelling at that point, so I did not write or chat to any of these girls. I was just browsing and looking at different women. Over the course of about 5 months, I kept coming back to one of the ladies' profile to read her status. Sometimes she was happy, sometimes sad, sometimes angry. It was always a mix of emotions. She would say that she is annoyed of men always letting her down after chatting to them, saying all men are lying and never plan to visit her even though they said they would. She was a Thai woman, by the way, and as it happened, I had some business come up in Southeast Asia and thought I would take a week off and head to Thailand. The plan was to go to Bangkok for 2 days and then elsewhere to do some diving. While in Bangkok, I thought I would try hit up the lady I kept coming across on the dating app and see if she'd like to go out for dinner. So a few weeks before my trip, I decided to chance it and sent her a message explaining I'll be in Bangkok and if she wanted to meet up. Anong wrote back a couple of days later, thankfully saying that she would happily meet up with me once I am there. And from that day, we started to talk pretty much every day. I told her that I would be in Bangkok for just a couple of days, then doing some diving in Phuket. She explained that she did not like Phuket much, but said she wanted to join me on a trip there. She did suggest another town to the original place I was going to stay though. I did not want to seem a creep or a bit too eager, so I booked a 2-bedroom suite for the first 2 nights we was there. Later, we would travel north of Phuket, but we could only get a single room, but she said 2 beds was okay, which I understood. While we were chatting, I did bring up the obvious age difference. I asked if she was okay with me approaching 50 while she had just turned 30. Even I wasn't sure about it at first, but she said she was fine with it and much preferred older, mature men. Chatting every day, learning more about each other and planning our trip together, I decided I wanted to spend more time with her than just 1 week. So with that in mind, I changed my business plans so I could stay there a little longer. Although we learnt a lot about each other's family, she did not share much about her and her life, only small parts. I asked her what she did for a living. She seemed a bit reluctant to tell me and kept changing the subject. This led me to believe she was a freelancer or bar girl, but she finally told me that she works in internet advertising, though I did not know what for. Finally, I arrived in Bangkok and headed to the hotel that she got me a discount on. She said she knew the manager at the hotel so could get me a cheaper price. I don't know if she got commission for that or not, but hey, I paid less than I would have. We met up the day after I arrived. She was 3 hours late, so it wasn't a great start. But when we did meet, I saw that her dating profile pictures did no justice. You have heard it all before, but this girl was the most beautiful person I had ever met. She had such a natural beauty to her with very little makeup. She's half Thai, half Chinese, a perfect match look-wise. She was my ideal type. That night we went for dinner and it was a wonderful night. I had my fingers crossed for some bedroom entertainment at the end of the night, but she said she would stay at her place. It's only the first time meeting after all. We got a taxi and headed to her place with her giving the driver directions. For some reason, we pulled up a little away from her place, and she said that she had to walk the rest of the way, which was pretty strange. We gave each other a little kiss when I helped her out of the taxi, and then I was on my way back to my hotel. The following night, we went for dinner again, and her sister drove us to a somewhat fancy restaurant. The day after, I had to leave for business. It was only for 3 days. While I was gone, I did ask Anong if she liked me and wanted to continue seeing me, to which she said yes. All is good so far. After 3 days, I returned to Bangkok, where I met Anong and had dinner with her, her sister and her mother. I did think it was a little early on to be meeting the family, but maybe that's just how they do it in Thailand. It was time for me and Anong to leave Bangkok and fly to Phuket. We got there early evening, jumped into a taxi, and after getting lost a few times, finally made it to the hotel. The hotel was great, another one of Anong's choices, and our night together was also fantastic. We had a good 3 days together before we moved on and took a trip to Koh Lat. During this whole time, we were staying in separate beds. I must admit, I was getting a bit frustrated and wanted to indulge in a bit of bedroom fun, but I took it slow and played it cool. Koh Lat was fun. We did some diving and snorkeling, took a lot of pictures and had a great time together. We stayed there for 5 days, and on the last day she did sleep in my bed and we fooled around a bit, but we did not go all the way. Now, the next part is something I probably should not have done, but I was enjoying our time together and wanted to show my appreciation. We stopped off around Patong Beach. I wanted to buy her a little something to show my gratitude. I was looking for something small, not too expensive, like a ring or something. I was thinking to spend around 20 to 30,000 baht. After the lady happily showed us a collection of rings, Anong found one she really liked. A 100,000 baht engagement ring. I told Anong that it's too early for an engagement ring, and it's something that needs serious thought and something we should certainly talk about. Wasting absolutely no time at all, Anong took me next door for a coffee and to talk about it. I told her that it was a very big step and she hardly knows anything about me. We have not even done the deed yet. She replied that she has been single so long and knew straight away she wanted to be with me. She said she knows that she's in love with me. Being a little smitten myself and a little stupid, I agreed to the ring and we went back to the seller. I managed to negotiate and talk her down from 100,000 to 85,000. Anong was very happy with her new ring, and to celebrate, we went to another nice restaurant before flying back to Bangkok. If it's not clear to the listeners yet, I paid for everything up until now. Food, hotel, activities, outings, everything. I had to fly back home early the next morning, so we decided to stay alone the last night. I told her that I would be back in about 5 weeks. When I got home, everything still went great. We spoke every day and was getting along fine, discussing the next trip. She finally opened up about her work, because up until then, I only knew she was doing online work, but I did not know exactly what type. It turns out that she is an advertising manager with her sister for a company that helps tourists find freelancers and normal girls. It was like Tinder, but you could also be looking for fun rather than dates. Basically, it was just another layer to help Thai girls make even more money from tourists and Western men. It wasn't anywhere near as big as the main dating apps, and it was somewhat underground, as I don't think it's actually legal there, so not many people knew about it. Once she opened up about what she did, it did not bother me as she thought it would. She wasn't doing anything wrong and working a legit job, so I was fine with that. She started asking me if I would help her with work, editing her web pages, correcting her English, and basically giving my input on what I think would work and what wouldn't. I learned that her parents and brothers own a large store a few hours away from Bangkok where they live. Eventually, the topic came up about our future and marriage. Anong brought this up, not me. She told me about a dowry system and Thai traditions for marriage. So, I started doing some internet research about the dowry in Thailand, and although it's not 100% required, it can be part of the culture. Although I do not agree with it completely, I do somewhat understand the reason behind it. The cost of a dowry, I found, varied a lot and seemed to be based on the status of a person. I read that it can be as little as 20,000 baht all the way into the millions. I told Anong that I've read about the dowry and I'm happy to pay and prove myself. I was thinking I would have to pay about 50 to 100,000 max. Then Anong hit me with, my parents want a dowry of 3 million. I know I was a sucker buying the 100,000 baht ring when we first met, but a 3 million dowry is just laughable. I did not have that type of money, and even if I did, I would never have paid that much all in one go. I was also trying to start my own side business, so money that I was saving either went on my business or saving for my future trips to Thailand for Anong. Stupidly, I was falling for Anong, and I did not want to lose her over her parents' outrageous requests. I had told her about my finances and my business, and we both knew I would have it in the future, so we made plans to pay the dowry in about a year's time. The next trip, Anong wanted me to meet her family properly and take them on a little vacation so they could get to know me. We chose to take them to Chiang Mai for a few days, then they would go back to Bangkok and me and Anong would have a couple of days there to ourselves. I booked 4 tickets to Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai for me, Anong, her mother and her father. 2 weeks before I was meant to go back to Thailand, Anong asked if her brothers and sister can come to Chiang Mai as well. I couldn't exactly say no now. I did not want to disappoint Anong, so once again, I agreed. In total, I ended up buying plane tickets for 7 of us to Chiang Mai and then on to Chiang Rai. It was over Christmas time, and although they are Buddhist, I still wanted to get them a little something. So I also purchased some Christmas presents. I think I wanted her parents to accept me so much that I wasn't even thinking straight when I was spending all of this money. Hopefully now the plans won't change and I don't lose money or have to spend more. Me and Anong also discussed about me moving to Thailand as my work is online and 99% of my projects are in Southeast Asia. We decided that I will move to Thailand to be close to Anong and take trips to other Asian countries for work when I needed to. It was time for me to go back to Thailand again. I arrived in Bangkok late in the evening and Anong had work early the next day, so we only spent time from her picking me up at the airport and taking me to the hotel. Then she went home. Our trip to Chiang Mai was pretty nice, but taking her parents was a waste of time, as they spoke 0 English. Anong wasn't even pleased with translating everything for us and quickly gave up, so I did not really have the opportunity to get to know them properly. It turns out the plan was for her mother to stay with us the whole trip when her family returned. So much for some alone time. It was okay though. I only had to put up with her for 2 extra days after the others left, and then me, Anong and her mum went back to Bangkok. When back in Bangkok, me and Anong did some apartment hunting and she found me a place near the airport that was not too far from her place. It was a basic place, but it would do me for now. 6,000 a month rent. I did bring up about seeing Anong's place, but she said that she did not want her neighbours knowing about me because they will just gossip. I did not fully understand the need to keep me a secret, but I guess this is Thailand. People are different here. After a few weeks of me staying in Thailand and seeing Anong almost every evening, things started to stall and go a bit dull. She did not have that spark anymore, and it seemed like it was more of a chore than a choice to see me. She always looked tired and fed up. I thought it could have been due to her working long hours, so I asked what the problem was. She replied that her family was gossiping about us, saying that they are not sure about me and that I'm not committed to being in a relationship with her. I assured her that I was committed to being in a relationship with her and I would marry her tomorrow if I could afford it, but due to business and my finances, it was impossible to pay the dowry just yet. She told me if I want to make her believe that I am committed to a relationship, then I should pay a down payment on the dowry of 300,000 baht. That amount seemed reasonable, and if it would persuade Anong that I was serious, then I would pay it. So stupidly, I agreed. That changed her mood, and after I told her that, we got a taxi to my place. She stayed late, but not overnight. It took me a few days, but I finally was able to get the cash to put a down payment on the dowry, and after that, things went from bad to worse. I thought that this was saving our relationship and showing her parents that I am serious. Unfortunately, it had the opposite effect. Anong became very distant and used the excuse of having too much work. We would only see each other a couple of nights a week, late in the evening for dinner. Practically, all I did in my spare time was help her with the work she would give me. I was trying to help as much as I could, so she wasn't overworked. One night, I had enough of being sat in the apartment on my own, and Anong had told me she was too busy to meet, so I went out alone. Just a side note, I had never indulged in any of the Thailand nightlife activities. No judgment, it just wasn't my thing. All I wanted to do was be with Anong, and that clearly wasn't working. I found a bar, I think the Soy was 13 off Sukhumvit Road. Had quite a lot of expats and tourists in there. In fact, the only Thais I saw in there was with their Farang partners. Anyway, I got chatting to a couple of expats in there and learnt more about living in Thailand. I explained my situation and they was fast to say that I was being scammed. I did not believe it. I honestly thought that Anong was being serious and she wasn't up to no good. Later, the big C happened and the world was being put into lockdown slowly. This caused me to put a lot of my Southeast Asia business on hold for the time being. I told Anong that because of this and the financial setback it would have, I will need to go back home to pursue other business projects. I said that before I go back home to the West, we need to spend more time together because I don't know when I will be back. She reluctantly agreed. I decided that we should take a vacation while we can, so we went to an island for 5 days. I wish we didn't go. It was a complete nightmare. She was a totally different person, complaining all the time. I don't think she even kissed me the whole trip. When we returned to Bangkok, Anong agreed to spend the final night at my place, and the next day, I left to go back home. Once I got back home, the daily conversations carried on, but it was mostly us talking about her work and money. I was sending her 7,000 baht a week, while helping her out with her work every day. It felt like I was working for the agency, not her. One night, while we were discussing her work and the agency, she told me about a customer that they were having a hard time finding someone for. She told me he was an American doctor, even though I think he was lying about his occupation. I said to Anong that it's strange he can't find anyone. American doctors make a lot of money. That was the last time I talked with her for the next week. I tried to call her and text her many times, but I did not get a reply at all. Being left in the dark was horrible. I did not know what to do, nor did I know what she was doing, or where she was. I finally got a reply after about 8 days of constantly texting and calling her. It was a very basic but straight to the point message. "I have never really wanted to be with you," is what she said. I would say I was shocked, but I saw it coming, though she could have been a bit nicer about breaking it off. I did not do anything wrong to her, and pretty much did everything she asked, and this is how she treated me in the end. I replied to her breakup text saying, "That's your choice, but return the engagement ring and the dowry money and we will go our separate ways." She replied about a law or something, saying that because we did not have a Thai ceremony, she did not have to return the ring and the dowry is kept by her parents. I told her that I will go to a lawyer about the dowry because it wasn't a small amount of money. She flew into a rage with a barrage of horrible threatening messages. She said that if I went to a lawyer, then she would go to the police and tell them I did things to her against her will. Obviously, in my country, that would be classed as extortion, but in Thailand, who are they going to listen to? A local Thai girl or a Western foreigner who's twice her size and 10 years older? I did not really have a leg to stand on at that stage. Although it was hard, I did have to let the dowry go and consider it a loss. It would probably have cost me a lot more to try and get it back with lawyer fees and whatnot. And even then, it's not guaranteed that I would win. I also did not fancy her going to the police and getting me locked up in a Thailand prison on false allegations. After we broke up, I started to dig a little deeper on her life and business. And yes, I probably should have done this before I even met her. I used what little information she told me and started doing some searching. I found her profile on a dating app that she created just days after I put a down payment on the dowry. Ironically, her profile read, "Looking for real love, not fake men." I even found her sister's profile on the same dating app, and she is already engaged to a man from Australia who's none the wiser to what she's doing. It seems they both have a good scheme going. Meet guys online, bring them to Thailand, make them fall in love with you, get engaged, pay a dowry, and then run off with the money. Clever scheme for stupid, lonely guys like myself. I know of 2 other men she has done this to, both from Europe, but I suspect that there is a lot more victims out there. I remember on several occasions while talking to Anong, she told me that her goal was to buy property and live a quiet life. It looks like she has found a good way to fund that. Lonely men like me, we are easy to take advantage of, so I can't really blame her. I was an easy target and fell in love with the dream rather than the reality. All the information, the warning signs and the red flags was right in front of me. I just didn't look, and when I did, I ignored them. It's a shame because I really love Thailand and what it had to offer, but this experience has put me off quite a lot. I probably won't return anytime in the near future. Though, I do plan to have some long stays in different Asian countries. Not all Thai ladies are like this. In fact, some of the nicest women I've met on my travels have been Thai, but a few of them are. So, if you are contemplating being involved with a nice Thai lady, or any lady for that matter, do your homework. Ask questions and look for the red flags. I was too trusting. I never even considered that I would be taken for a ride. In the end, maybe I should have just gone with a bar girl. Thanks for listening and be careful.